This is office hours, so what questions do you guys got? I'm going to answer Monica's technical question. Whenever you have an API key, this is for the OpenAI key, where to store your OpenAI key in Supabase. So this is just an example for OpenAI, but this could work for pretty much any API key. So you log into your Supabase, you go to Edge Function on the left here. You can see it's Edge Function, and then deploy a new function. Click on Edge Functions, add a new function, name it, and then click on add the actual key, and click on Secrets, and then name it, and then save the key. And then if you want to update it in the future, you can update it. Okay, so this is, you just follow this step by step, it should give you what you want. So whatever you guys are thinking about your apps, this is kind of, I'll try to make this a lesson for everyone real quick. So let's use Joanna's idea as a plan. Every software app is a series of like input, and then it goes through a brain, and then there's an output. That's pretty much it. Think about this. Everything you click on an app or a software has a result. Input goes through some system, and then there's an output. It could be click this button and it starts the YouTube video, whatever. There's an input, there's an output. Or another way to think about it is like there's an input and there's an action or reaction. And so a lot of times with apps, there's an onboarding or profile element that is saved in memory. That's always retrievable. Then once they start using the app, let's just assume it's a mobile app. Usually mobile apps are organized in this way, where there's a menu at the bottom, right? And then there's a menu at the top, and there's a little profile at the top. And then this is where like the action happens. This is kind of like most apps. So this is used, let's go right through Joanna's. So in Joanna's, if I'm trying to plan my day, what are things that are essentially never going to change? Or they're not going to change daily. So with goals, you have like you plus I've talked about this before, like your BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal, your purpose in your life, or whatever your big thing is. So you have you and then your purpose, and then you have age, sex, mini goals, finances, family, mood, health, etc. Whatever basic things that you want to gather. So you want to gather that information in the onboarding, save it in your profile here, but then also daily, maybe here's your daily, what is going to have to happen with your daily? Your daily is going to be daily updates and goals, and then it'll also sync with your calendar. So sync with the calendar. So if I was doing like a basic MVP of this, is I'd have some kind of onboarding where I get out the basic information. What are my goals? Blah, blah. How do I want to communicate with this app? And then every day there would be something that happens, and then it would also sync with my work and my personal calendar. And then all of a sudden, it pretty much would organize your day. I'm not necessarily saying this is a good idea, but a lot of you guys, I think, need to be aware that there's like step one, step two. That makes sense. I would like to add an email service to my app where my staff can generate and send emails directly from the app and also receive replies. What would you recommend for that? I would use Mailgun or SendGrid. So you can connect the API of Mailgun and SendGrid. Just to give you guys a Mailgun and SendGrid. This might be an interesting lesson for everyone. So let's say you have your website, and then you have your email provider. Your email provider is like Gmail or Microsoft or Hotmail or Yahoo or whatever you're using. And this is essentially the user interface. But these guys are not actually sending the emails. So there's something called like a SMTP provider, which essentially is the back end of all emails. And the main providers for these are two companies. They're both huge companies. One is SendGrid and one is Mailgun. So this actually sends everything behind the scenes and also keeps up to date with your reputation. So this is what decides whether or not you're going to be in someone's spam or their inbox. So what you're trying to do, Lindy, is not have them use this interface, which is totally fine. You can have it, the admin backend, and just hook it directly up. But if that's the case, then you need to use the API of SendGrid and Mailgun. And that way you can send emails. But then obviously you got to connect it's like a two-way sync. Whereas a lot of times, if you're using another provider, they're doing the two-way sync. And from your end, it just looks like a one-way. What you're doing on Famous is you'd be building the actual like user interface. Maybe here's where the emails are. I don't know, this is where they put in their signature. This is the send button. Maybe this is their main inbox. This is send. This is inbox, needs reply, however you want to organize it. But you have to build this interface. But the brain, the machine behind it will be an SMTP provider, which you need an API for that. So you can build this inside of Famous, but to connect this, you need to put your Supabase, you need to connect their API key in Supabase so that whenever you trigger something, it actually goes and updates it. And it connects to a CRM. Your first step is to have build out the actual user interface. Lindy, is this for your current company? What are you guys using right now to do email? So you have the platform built. Do you have a platform built for something else and you just want to add an additional feature where you can send emails essentially? So you have some functionality doing something and then you just want to add email. Yeah, but Wix is a front end, so you can use Famous for the front end. Let's say you're using Wix. Then is it a web app? They're getting a login and then they're going to a web app. And you built the web app inside of Famous. You have a login and people can do something. And you built it with Famous and Supabase. I assume. You just need to add email function. You just say it exactly what you want. I would say don't change anything else. Add an additional menu item where that's acts as essentially as a CRM so that my employees can send emails inside of the app rather than having to go offline. It keeps track of everything. We have Mailgun API or SendGrid API. Should we use it? And then say that it'll build something inside of whatever you already have built. And then it'll probably ask you for the API key. And if it does it, you can put it into the keys, which was this right here, where you go into Edge Functions and then Secrets, and you put in the API key here. Or you can always, if you want our help, you can always schedule a call one-on-one. But that's what I'd recommend. Linda, yeah, you can do there's a Supabase option for HIPAA. It just does a little bit more of cryptography during when it's sending information back and forth from Supabase to Famous, and then it runs it through some extra cryptography features. But Supabase already has a HIPAA compliant option. No, you don't need Blaze. Blaze is like Famous, but a little bit more Cody centric. Cynthia, Lead Falcon. Yeah, Lead Falcon we're pushing. It's not integrated yet. It'll probably be integrated in the next 10 to 14 days. And our chatbot is on the list. So it'll be phone call, email, text, and chatbot. How complicated would it be to have an app coach that listens to your phone conversation and tells? The problem, Joanna, is not that complicated. The problem is speed. So it's not that it's not possible. The problem is that its ability to react fast enough. If you've talked to ChatGPT, there's always that little bit of a delay. So can you build something where you're talking and it will give you some advice live? 100%. But will it feel like a kind of an awkward conversation right now? I think it will. You could do a version where it listens to your conversation, let's say over Zoom or on the phone, and then it gives you written is a lot faster. So it's not a bad idea. It's just, I think the vision is one, we're building our own Supabase that's integrated. And then also Lead Falcon as like the standard CRM, basically. I think current CRMs will be disrupted by things like Lead Falcon, where instead of having to have all these automations and if-then statements, you can just put it into a bucket and then the AI will text, email, call, and chat with every person in their own individual way. Big knowledge bases are good. It depends on the project, though. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. It's funny with BookDaddy, we had these massive knowledge bases in the beginning because OpenAI wasn't very smart. So we constrained it a lot. It really constrained it. But that when we started it, ChatGPT was at 3.5, and then it went to 4, and then it was 0.1, and then it was 4.5, and then now it's 5. And so now the knowledge base is actually the larger the knowledge base, at least for what I do, it makes it worse. So it really depends. Dr. Michael, they're basically completely different. So think about, so you have a website and you get someone that opts in and they go into your CRM. And this is like people that opted in. These are people that, let's say, bought. These are people that bought a lot. These people that are scheduled a call. These people that showed up to the call. These are people that purchased your like expensive product, whatever. This is like a classic CRM. Does that make sense? You guys know. So this would be like a lead, and it's, oh, they opted in, and then they bought again, and then they bought something else, and then they scheduled, and then they didn't show up, and then they bought the high ticket thing. This is what a CRM looks like. So what's happening behind the scenes is you're putting them into usually an email flow, or some people call it a campaign. Every CRM does it a little bit different. Automation. And the campaign is like email, text, phone, voicemail, maybe a chat bot, maybe a social media bot. So you're putting them into a campaign, and then what's the goal? The goal is to push them to go to the next stage. And then they go into a different campaign. And then what's the goal? The goal is to push them into the next stage. That's it. You're just trying to move people along the buyer's journey. And so this is like how Go High Level is currently set up. And you have to make these. So each one of these sequences, you have to create your own. The difference with, so you have to literally write these and what is going to be the first day and what's going to be the second day and what's going to be 36 hours later and what's going to be 12 hours before you. All of it is making decisions. So this is pretty advanced for strategy and copywriting and that kind of stuff. Go High Level makes it pretty easy technically, but it's still very advanced strategically and in terms of digital marketing, it's pretty advanced. First, you have to know what pipeline stages do I want, and then how am I pushing them from one pipeline stage to the other. Whereas what this does is it says, Lead Falcon says, what do you want? Oh, I want people to, buy. And I want people to, like, let's say, schedule, call, so that maybe then afterwards They buy anyways. That's like at the end of the day, that's really all. That's what a business is. So what Lead Falcon does is that you give it a goal, an objective, and all of this craziness, all of these is replaced by AI. So what used to be you writing out every single campaign and putting people through nurturing sequences and onboarding sequences and reminder sequences and blah 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 blah, all this kind of stuff. Now it's just I want people to buy this product and I want people to schedule a call. And then these are the types of people that usually buy this product, and these are the types of people that usually buy this product. And this is why this product is good, and this is why scheduling a call is good. And you just give it that objective, and Lead Falcon will do everything. So it's not, you essentially don't have to create any of these campaigns. You just have to come up with objectives. And then the campaigns will be done automatically. And it's also another thing that's better for your email reputation, because instead of sending, these are all bulk campaigns. Some people call them drip campaigns, but essentially when someone opts in or someone like almost buys or someone does something, they're added to a campaign and then you're slowly, so you might have, for my companies, I'll have 30,000 people that are going through various stages of email campaigns. So at any given moment, I might be sending out tons and tons of emails in bulk. And whenever you send out tons and tons of emails in bulk, you better have a good reputation with your, because come full circle, with your SMTP provider. Because if you don't have a good reputation, then you might go to spam or you might go to promotions. And this usually happens when you're sending bulk. But with Lead Falcon, you're sending one-on-one. So when someone comes in, it starts a one-on-one conversation with them. And you don't have to do any of the copywriting. It's pretty wild. So as you can see, the problem that people have, they might be able to build something on Famous, but then they get stuck on like the back end Supabase stuff. And then they also get stuck on the back end with the CRM and the marketing. The idea is so this is the database, and then this is the marketing CRM, and then this is Famous. So what we're trying to do is replace the CRM with Lead Falcon, and then we're building our own Supabase so that it's a ecosystem together where everything is just easier. And then also, to be honest, there's a lot of like design functionality that I use for marketing, which I use Deal.ai, which is also the same owner. But there's a lot of things that we don't like about Supabase, so we'll make it even. All the good things about Supabase plus whatever we want to change. That's honestly the most important thing. No, it doesn't have an email provider, but we integrate with SendGrid and Mailgun. It's funny, when me and Alex were first starting, we Lead Falcon, I was like, I think this is actually the biggest one. I think Lead Falcon's the biggest one. Lead Falcon is it's free and then usage based per 1,000 emails, per 1,000 text messages, per 100 minutes on the phone. So it scales up and down depending on. There's also white label, because that's another thing we want people to build white labels. Cool, guys. I'll see you on Saturday. Come to Saturday. If you want my help with anything, go to launchyourbusiness.ai and we can schedule a call with my team. There's a lot of free content on there. There's my ebook, but otherwise, I'll see you on Saturday. Cheers. Bye bye.